everyone, if you're new here, my name is Sterling and I'm the artist here behind Cactus Lady Creation, and if you've been here before, welcome back. This has been a really highly requested video, so I'm really excited to share it with you all. It's 50 Whimsigoth aesthetic crochet patterns that you can make. This is a cool aesthetic that I've recently come to know about, but once I really learned what it was, I thought, I already kind of dress like this. So I'm really excited to dive into this aesthetic with you all. And first I'll be sharing just an overall breakdown of what is Whimsigoth, and then I'll be sharing the crochet patterns with you all. So feel free to grab your tea or a drink of your choosing and your crochet, and let's dive into what Whimsigoth is. Whimsigoth is an aesthetic that originated in the mid-1980s and peaked in the late 1990s and is short for whimsical gothic. So in essence, it incorporates elements of gothic culture, but with the whimsical twist. Of course, if you would like me to do a video on the gothic aesthetic and crochet patterns, let me know in the comments below, as I personally love gothic as well, so I'd love to do this for you all. It coincided around the same time as gothic culture emerged in about the 1980s, along with bands like The Cure and Bauhaus, along with other bands that had a more alternative rock, dream pop, sort of folky, even shoegazy kind of vibe. And also that had a bit of a strong feminine element. Bands like the Cranberries, Cocteau Twins, Mazzy Star, and Susie and the Banshees, along with Fleetwood Mac. Artists that are perfect muses for this aesthetic are Stevie Nicks from Fleetwood Mac, Florence Welch from Florence and the Machine, Hope Sandoval of Mazzy Star, Suzanne Vega, Kate Bush, and I feel Prince is an often overlooked big Whimsigoth icon, as well as he embodied this witchy aesthetic. For film and TV, Phoebe Buffay in the early seasons of Friends, played by Lisa Kudrow, Lisa Bonet, and all of the late 80s and 90s witchy films such as The Witches of Eastwick, The Craft, Practical Magic, Hocus Pocus, Eve's Bayou, and Sabrina the Teenage Witch as well. I really love Whimsigoth aesthetic because it has more of a bohemian sort of witchy vibe to it. Colors incorporated with this aesthetic are more moody, saturated tones like emerald, maroon, purples, and even some earth tones as well. You can also incorporate lots of different patterns and fabrics with patterns that feature lunar and solar, or even just general earthy kind of themes to them. There's a lot of crossover between Whimsigoth and Gothic, as I already said, but there's also some crossover with cottagecore, grungecore, fairycore or Renaissance looks, and even a little bit of an homage to the 70s disco vibe. But it specifically highlights the 70s when it was kind of redone in the 90s, so it's like the 90s take on 70s. With this aesthetic, you can play around with layering, all different kinds of fabrics. The more fabrics and textures, the better. And it's also really cool to play around with mixing feminine and masculine textures, such as lace and soft velvet, plush, kind of crushed velvet, along with harder textures like leather, mixing in sort of heavy, chunky boots or platform boots, along with like kitschy, chunky jewelry, which I really love. So this aesthetic is all about really mixing and matching, pairing different textures and layers, mixing feminine with masculine, and it's really the perfect aesthetic to thrift for. So let me know in the comments below if you'd like to see a Whimsigoth inspired thrift with me, because I'd love to share that with you all. All right, let's get to the crochet patterns. First, I will share some Whimsigoth tops with you. The first pattern is this flower top by Nikita Nightingale, and I really loved this top because it seems pretty easy to construct, and this piece is made in a square-like pattern with two big squares in the front and back, and then rectangles for the sleeves. She also has a great written pattern with a crochet chart that makes it really simple and easy to construct it all together. This next one is a flower lace spaghetti strap top by Chinda DIY. This one's really flirty and fun and a perfect beginner project, and it's actually constructed in the round. She makes it in an extra small, but also gives lots of tips and tricks on how to adjust it for your specific size. You could also make this tie front top by Ladria Lave, and this one is definitely a Whimsigoth staple. She gives tips on how to make it according to your measurements, and also how to make it longer or shorter as well. And this one's just made with one big rectangle in the back and two in the front, along with those two straps along the bottom of the top, and so it's really simple and easy to construct. This next one is a wrap top by Mindful Knots. I really love this mandala detailing along the back of this one and thought it was really cleverly constructed. It's made by making the mandala first, which is that circle design in the middle, and then it's turned into a square. And then she adds the front panels and makes the sleeves and connects them all together. I really like this next one. It's the bell sleeve top by TC DIY. It's definitely a groovy one, and this one's perfect to wear when you want to add a little bit of a flirtiness to your look. And this pattern is made for size small, but she also has some great tips on how to customize it to your size. And her tutorials are always really detailed and very helpful for the construction. I also feel like corsets are really whimsigoth, so there are definitely a few on this list. Let me know if you like a detailed video on how I like to layer them and style them with some thrifted pieces, because they're just really perfect for cold season. Here is a bustier corset made by Jax, and this pattern includes size small to extra large. I loved how simple the construction is on this one, and the detailing is really nice as well. And you could get really fancy with the detailing along the lining for this one, adding your own little spin on it. And I think maybe instead of that red color, you could use maroon to make it even more whimsigoth. Here's one more. This underbust corset by Plump Bomo is so easy to create and is created by making it all as one piece, flat, and then add the arms and lace up straps to connect it together in the front. This next one is the Cam Crochet Mesh Top by Lisa Och, and this one is made in a raglan style, which basically means it's just worked from the top down, so it's easy to whip up, and this pattern includes sizing small to 3XL. And I really like these types of tops because they're a perfect layering piece. You can just throw it on at any time of year really, and I personally like to wear kind of a spaghetti style top, like a velvet 90s kind of top underneath them, and I think that's really cute. This next one is the Ophelia top by Stitched by Emma. This one really puts the whimsical and whimsigoth, and I love how customizable it is and how detailed it really is. She really describes how you can customize it to fit your size, and I also think the colorway on this one is immediately whimsigoth perfection for sure. You can make this crisscross top by Chinda DIY. I really liked this top and the detailing on the front part, as well as pairing this one with a really kitschy kind of mystical necklace of some kind. I think that that'd be really fun. You could also make the Nereid top by Bow Meadow. It's made using knit and crochet, so I'd say this is a bit more intermediate because you do need to know how to knit as well. I still need to learn how to knit too, but this one could be really fun to play around with as a layering piece. Next, I'll share some whimsigoth bottoms. First are these bell bottoms by Dead Doll Crochet. I loved how they're wearing them here over this fishnet stocking. It's giving me more of a punk vibe, but you could also make it more whimsical by adding a flowy top and maybe making it in a different maroon or deep kind of purple color. I think it could be fun to experiment with making it with like a velvet yarn as well. Although this pattern is said to be more intermediate, I definitely think it'd be friendlier for a beginner because there is sizing from small to 5XL, and it's made with the Pound of Love yarn. I really thought this next idea was really clever. It's the Whimsigoth skirt by Amaya's Realm, and this design was made using sewing and crochet. I was definitely inspired by this video and want to try putting my own kind of spin to it. I think it could be fun to go thrifting and find a really great skirt to kind of do something like this with. And lastly for bottoms is the Shimmer skirt by Your Inspirations. This skirt, funnily enough, can be used as a poncho as well, which I thought was perfect for this aesthetic since it's all about layering. And the way that it's worn here is sort of boho, but it also kind of has a bit of a whimsigoth charm to it. And to make it more whimsigoth, you could pair it with some lacy tights, maybe a sheer long sleeve top with a spaghetti strap top underneath it. You could also put one of those kind of celestial belts over the top of it. That definitely would perfect the aesthetic. Now let's go to coats and sweaters. First is the Lotus Duster by Morale Fiber. I love how lacy and flowy this one is, and I think it would be really great as a layering piece. I personally really love the color that this one was made in already for this pattern, and think it could be fun to put over the top of a neutral, more earth tone sort of look. Next is this 70s vintage spiderweb waistcoat, and it's in the Sleeping Cots Etsy shop. I think this one would be fun to make, especially with Halloween season around the corner, but it also could just be fun to wear it all whole season long. And it could be fun to make in a black, gray, or even maroon color. This next one is the Snowy Charming Cape by Frills Crochet. Of course, if you want to perfect the Whimsigoth look, you can also throw on a witchy charm with this cape. And this one's perfect to pair with a layering look for the winter season. You could also create the Wild Woman Cardi by me. And I'll be sharing this one very soon with you all in a Whimsigoth crochet inspired make with me tutorial video. It's actually this cardigan that I'm wearing right now, and I really loved making it in this kind of wine color. It kind of gives me a bit of a Red Riding Hood Whimsigoth kind of vibe. Lastly, for sweaters is the Blue Star Shrug by TTCG Craft. I really loved the star accents here and think it could be perfect to give your look kind of a whimsical celestial vibe. Now I'll share some dresses as well. First is the Doily Mini Dress by Celestial Crochet. I really love this dress. It could be perfect to go thrifting and find some doilies, or you can make your own doilies and crochet your own to go with this. This pattern uses US and UK standard, so that's really convenient. And lastly, for the crochet clothes is the Queen of the Night maxi dress. I definitely will be making this dress at some point soon, and think it could be really perfect to wear in a kind of beachy photo shoot, Whimsigoth kind of vibe photo shoot. And I love the cutout bodice on this one, and the lace-up back is amazing as well. I also really love the color that this one was made in, and it's definitely Whimsigoth aesthetic vibes for sure. This first one is the Katya Choker by Dawn L.E. Ridden. This is made by crocheting around a ribbon, and I personally really love pairing ribbon with crochet. It's definitely one of my favorite combinations. This next one is a fun one. It's the Half Moon Earrings by Betty Creations. And keep in mind that for this one, you do need hardware to create it. Next are the 3-star earrings by Bliss This, and these are 3 different star earring crochet patterns, and they're definitely really gorgeous and delicate. They're pretty easy to make. You just need a little bit of hardware. And she has some really great tips on how to stiffen the fabric for this design. Also, the Memento Mori skull earrings by Blessed Chains are amazing. I love this lacy skull pattern, and it could be really fun to play around with adding trinkets to the earrings, maybe upcycling other jewelry bits for this that you thrifted. I also really liked how they added the little hoop and the heart metal detailing at the bottom. So there's many different ways that you can play with this design. This next one is a bit more on the goth side of Whimsigoth. It's the Gothic Victorian Choker by Lunar Still. I really liked the lace work on this piece. I think it could be really fun to play around with making this piece in a different color, maybe like a deep purple. And it could be fun to play around with adding some different upcycled beads or thrifted beads for this one as well. This next one is a really fun bracelet cuff collar by Emily Beads. This one's so fun, and I really love these cuffs, and you can use this as a nice layering piece, and you can try sort of pairing it with some different bracelets and some rings. This next one is great for colder weather. It's the Narrow Skull Scarf by Karen Kaufman. I love this motif and the lace work with this one. Scarves are absolutely essential for this aesthetic, and this one's really helpful because there's a written pattern and a tutorial to go along with this. This next scarf is also great for layering in that colder weather. It's the Half Moon Scarf by Michelle Wilcox. I really liked this metallic yarn choice with this one. It's really nice to add a little bit of a sparkle to your look. And I also really liked the moon-shaped bauble-like stitches that they used here. And they're actually called the circle stitch. Next is the Funky Spat boot cuffs by Stitch Twins. This is the perfect accessory to not only stay warm, but to layer with and look cute. And I think these could be really cute to pair with some chunky platform shoes or some sort of Doc Marten heavy boots. Next is this really lovely scarf called It's Just a Phase by I Like Crochet. This piece is such a lovely celestial inspired design and features the different phases of the moon. And this piece could work really well styled on top of a table or at the edge of the bed, so it's a really nice versatile pattern as well. This next one is such a fun textural piece. It's the Trail of Blossom Scarf by Lion Brand, and this is a really simple piece that you can make and layer with, and it's definitely really beginner friendly, which is nice. This next one is one of my absolute favorites. It's the Corona Shawl, and it's designed by Universal Yarn. This one definitely screams Whimsigoth and is perfect to layer with and wear for any season really. The detailing is so beautiful on this one, and this one's simply created top down, so really simple and easy to construct. Next is the Thunder Snow Bag by TL Crochet. It definitely has a bohemian sort of vibe to it. I really like the beads they added, and you could get really creative with adding old jewelry or thrifted pieces to this one as well. At least that's what I would definitely do for sure. Next is the Tapestry Moon Bag by Nordic Hook. And this one is made using the tapestry method, where you hold one yarn behind the other while you work. And the tapestry method is really handy for making graphics, and that's how they made that kind of moon-shaped design for this piece. And lastly, for accessories is this gorgeous half moon bag by Bags by Bento. And you could add fringe on the bottom for an extra bit of fun charm, and definitely customize it for your fancy. Now let me share some home decor with you. First is the Moon Shadow Blanket by Yarnspirations. This one's so beautiful with all the phases of the moon, and it would be extra whimsigoth if it was made in an emerald or maroon color. Let me know what kind of color you'd make this one in the comments below. I definitely love to know what you think. The next one is the Sunny Blanket by Lila Bjorn. It's really celestial and boho, and all of the colors are just so fun. I think it could be really nice to give a little cozy reading nook a nice pop of whimsigoth color. And a little charm for your ceiling with this lantern by Deep Creations. I really love this color it's in already, and you could add nice little beads to this and hang it wherever you'd like, a little whimsigoth charm in your room or space. Or you could celebrate the moon with this Moon Tapestry by Love and Stitch. This one uses the tapestry stitch to execute, and you could make it more whimsigoth with some colors that are really perfect for this aesthetic. You could also bring the outside in and find a little branch and use it as a dowel for this tapestry. That'd be really nice as well. Next are these Crochet Stone Rock Cozies by Traveling Crocheter. This one definitely incorporates that kind of hard and soft textural elements with the rock and the crochet. This next one is aesthetic and practical. It's the 4-in-1 Mesh Holder by Julia Crochet Fashion. I like how customizable this design is as well. You could make it with velvet yarn to give it a bit of extra texture here for your walls, and you can display your jewelry on it or even hang your pictures on it as well. Next is the Sunburst Sun Catcher by Crafty Therapist. You could get really creative with this one and add a little crystal in the middle and hang it in the window. Or you could make this boho hexagon wall hanging by Whistle and Ivy. This one can be done in more whimsigoth colors to give your wall that extra pop of color. And you could also make this one in velvet to give your walls that extra textural kind of little bit of interest to it. Next is the Light Flowers wall hanging by Look at What I Made. This one's really fun, and you could get creative with crocheting different flowers on each of the lights. Also, just to note, they used LED lights here so they won't heat up, and the flowers aren't actually touching the lights, so they aren't a fire hazard. But of course, don't leave the lights unattended as well. And for even safer yarn choice, you can actually use wool yarn as it's more heat resistant, just to be safe as well. This next one is the Moon Phase Wall Hanging by Yarnspirations. Gorgeous for adding a nice whimsical charm to your wall. I definitely would add beads for this one as well for an extra added charm. And then on the more gothic side of Whimsigoth, it's a collection of 13 really beautiful gothic doilies by Strumer Crafts. These designs are really nice to put on a table, dresser, or even a mantle with a nice little trinket dish or underneath some candles. You could even get really creative and sew a bunch of them together and make them into kind of like a lampshade sort of a thing. This next one is really creative. It's the Floral Tie Backs by Mumsy Makes Crochet. These are fun to tie back your curtains with, and I think it would be really perfectly executed here if you use some sort of lace or velvet or even some celestial kind of pattern curtains here to really execute that Whimsigoth aesthetic. This next one is really whimsical. It's the Fluffy Crescent Moon by Jada and Stitches. The color here is perfect, and the piece will definitely add some textural goodness to a cozy nook or bed. And I really liked how she used that blanket sort of yarn here. It's really textural and perfect for this. And here's another Fluffy Star Pillow by Jada and Stitches. This one's also really perfect to add to a nook. And lastly is the Flower Garland by Ophelia Talks. This one's really fun to whip up and put on your walls. And I think this one could be really fun to even use scrap yarns up for. And that's it for the 50 Whimsigoth patterns for me. If you like this video, please make sure to give it a like. You can comment below, let me know. Also subscribe and click the bell to be notified of future videos. I'll definitely be sharing a few Whimsigoth aesthetic crochet patterns with you all very soon. So definitely keep an eye out for that. So thank you again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.